Good afternoon and welcome back to Brno. That's right, for the first time in 5 years, the Grand Prix of Czechia is here in MotoGP. Jack Appleyard and Lewis Suddaby here with officially 50% down, 50% to go in the MotoGP World Championship with Marc Marquez after now 8 straight victories, 4 sprints, 4 Grand Prix, 83 points clear in the World Championship. It was a pretty dominant performance last time out on Sunday, just a few days ago. And Lewis, we arrive here talking about returns. Everyone very excited to return to what a lot of riders have referred to today as the Mugello of the Czech Republic. It's fast, it's flowing, with a few more hard braking zones than what we have at Mugello, but it's a fan favourite across the board. But also the return at long last of the world champion. Jorge Martin, the #1, is back at long last and will be making his big return for the first time since the Grand Prix of Qatar 2 and a bit months, nearly 3 months ago now. Great to have him back, and what a venue to do it at as well.
Yeah, spectacular venue. I've only been here for 24 hours and already I fell in love with the city of Brno. We'll fall in love with the circuit, I'm sure, as this weekend goes on, although the white flag with the red cross has been waved just as we've gone on the air for this Gear Up show. The rain is starting to fall, although fortunately we're not expecting too much of that as we go through the weekend, maybe a little bit tomorrow morning, but that's about it. As far as Jorge Martin's concerned, we've been waiting for this since Qatar. You could argue we've been waiting for this since the start of the season. We haven't really seen Jorge Martin anything like full fitness on board that Aprilia yet. Of course, there's been so many headlines off the racetrack regarding Jorge Martin because he has been on the racetrack for quite some time. We'll be hearing from him, of course, over the course of this afternoon. 2 press conferences to come. He's in the second. Just so much excitement, of course, with Marc Marquez dominating this season at the moment. You do feel like Jorge Martin's return has come at a good time for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a jam-packed Gear Up show for you, just as Lewis has said, to bring you right up to speed. We're going to be with you over the next half an hour. You'll be able to hear from interviews, including Marc Marquez and Alex Marquez. Plus, we'll be chatting live to Miguel Oliveira. The Portuguese rider, of course, was here a couple of weeks ago for a private test, so has got some knowledge of the track. He can bring us up to speed of what we're hoping to expect this weekend. Then 2 press conferences, the first of which has Brad Binder, the man that was victorious the last time we were here in 2020, along with Pecco Bagnaia and Luca Marini after that stunning performance on injury turn last time out. And then at 4:30 local time, so in pretty much exactly 1 hour's time, set your alarms, Jorge Martin will be speaking to the public, and we expect him to tell us what he's going to be doing next year. That is what the media are speculating at the moment. Will he stay? Will he go? Of course, that's been the hot talking point for what feels the past couple of months, and we're going to get our answer in around an hour's time. But as we said, he's back. He's been out cycling on track, and you have to say, he looks fit as a fiddle, as lean as I've ever seen him. And he actually, while cycling out there early today, just happened to jump across Marc Marquez. And as always, our behind-the-scenes cameras were there to capture it.
Muy bien, con ganas ya de arrancar. Ha sido largo y contento de estar de vuelta en bici, que eso es que estoy en forma. Ahora hay que coger rueda al que está en P1, así que aquí he salido con él. A ver si me he pegado. Eso no corre mucho. Me he mojado hoy.
Y has salido con Jorge, ¿no? Con Martín, que está de vuelta.
Sí, nos hemos encontrado. Bien. Bueno que haya el número 1 en pista, ¿no?
¿Está en forma? ¿Lo has visto en forma?
En bici sí. Más que yo, en bici. En bici más que yo. Luego, lógicamente, necesitará rodarse. Falta de kilómetros.
So there, even Marc Marquez impressed by the physical condition that Jorge is in. He was just behind us a second ago. He's just nipped into the Aprilia hospitality, which is behind the camera, just as we're looking at the moment. He does have a medical check at 4 o'clock to officially confirm that he is fit to make his return this weekend. The big question is, what's possible? He's clearly back to 100% fitness. The first time we've been able to say that since, well, the end of last year, the opening day of Sepang. He's missing huge amounts of track time, as Paolo Bonora told us about this time 1 week ago. Less than 100 laps, they think he's been able to lap on this Aprilia compared to the thousands that everyone else has been able to put together by now. So on Sunday night, what do you think would be a weekend where Jorge goes happy with that?
A lot of laps and no crashes, I think, would be the job done for Jorge Martin. We spoke, didn't we, last weekend to Paolo Bonora about Jorge Martin's timeline and how he expects this return to go, and we described it as a bit of a pre-season, didn't we, this weekend? In many respects, this is all about Jorge Martin just getting time on the bike. Now, he did put in over 60 laps a couple of weeks ago at Misano. It was that test that convinced him that he could return here. So perhaps he's a little bit further on than when we saw him last on a competitive racetrack in Qatar. So perhaps he's not quite so undercooked as he was when he returned that weekend. But without question, he's not done a sprint or a Grand Prix yet at full 100% peak physical condition. I think he'll want a fully dry weekend here and just laps on the bike, and then I think he can truly start to target some genuine results in Austria when we return in August.
Yeah, in Qatar he was still struggling with that scaphoid injury which he suffered just ahead of the Thai Grand Prix whilst training. That has fully healed now. All of the rib injuries that he sustained in that collision with Fabio Di Antonio fully healed. The lung is obviously 100% okay as well, and a couple of spies have been looking on Strava at his cycling, and he has been butchering himself for the past month. Like, they are some guys in the paddock which are pretty good cyclists have been looking at the work that he's been doing and going, wow, that is seriously impressive. So Jorge is definitely 100% fit, and I think you can just tell by what he's been saying on social media, the way he's been walking around the paddock so far today. He's chomping at the bit. He's like a dog on a leash, ready to let go at long last to get out there and show what he can do. And you have to say, thanks to this man over our shoulders here, Marco Bezzecchi, he returns. Ciao Marco, how are you? Giving us a little wave to the camera. He returns to an Aprilia which is very competitive because Marco, outside of Marc and Alex, has been the form man of the moment, and yet again a very, very good weekend at the Sachsenring. It really should have been 4 straight podiums for Bez.
Yeah, really should be coming here on the back of consecutive Grand Prix double podiums. A crash which he admitted was down to perhaps a little bit too much caution, if anything else, when we saw riders starting to go down in that sequence of the German Grand Prix, where it felt like they were going down like dominoes in the second half of that race. Fabio Di Antonio had crashed just before him, a lap or two prior. He was a little bit more cautious, didn't use the rear as the bike as much to steer into the corner. When he was going downhill into that first corner, took the front, down he went. Second place in the bin. So for sure Marco Bezzecchi will be a little bit sore mentally from that, even if he didn't hurt himself at all in the crash. But yeah, there's no question that Aprilia is making steps forward. Very clear to see. Jorge Martin will have been heartened by that watching on from home, and you do wonder around a track which is similar in many respects, as you say, to Mugello, certainly reliant a lot on a bike that corners well and corner speed. You do wonder whether Aprilia might well fancy their chances here of certainly being the next best behind Ducati.
I think they will. You just look at the venues we've been to over the last month, and everywhere, varying circuits with varying challenges, and Bez has been right up there, competitive, fighting for the podium. So I think they'll be confident of continuing that trend on this weekend. Right, let's hear from then, as I believe we're looking at images of Marco Bezzecchi's crash from on Sunday. Interesting that he said that was a reminder that these bikes are built to be ridden at the limit. As soon as you just 1% slightly ease off, that's when the mistakes come. But a mistake didn't come from Marc Marquez. A mistake hasn't come from Marc Marquez on a Saturday or a Sunday now for a good month. As we said, 4 straight Tissot sprint victories, 4 straight Grand Prix wins, now 83 points clear in the World Championship. We arrive here, a place he's got to experience at, and everyone's once again saying he's the red hot favourite. So how does the man himself feel ahead of this, the Grand Prix of the Czech Republic? Let's find out and hear from Marc Marquez.
Marc, back at Brno for the first time in 5 years. You've obviously got a great track record here. How do you approach this weekend? It's not really a new track, but everyone's saying the grip level should be quite different. So I suppose for you guys it is.
Yeah, it looks like some manufacturers test 2 or 3 weeks ago, and yeah, it looks like they were already 2 seconds faster. So yeah, it's not a new track, but with a new asphalt and the fact that last 4 years we didn't ride here, so will take maybe a little bit more time in that FP1. But I believe that in the end of FP1 we are already on the correct times and on the correct lines.
Do you have any expectations for how the performance performance should be out there, or same as usual?
Same as usual. We are coming from a racetrack completely different, with a very small layout and low grip. Now we are coming in a big layout with a lot of grip, so with a new asphalt. So let's see what we can do.
You're the championship leader, but this weekend we have the return of the champion, Jorge Martin. Just some thoughts on that, because he's obviously coming back and a big name now back on the grid.
Yeah, good for MotoGP, good for the championship, good for Aprilia, and especially good for him to be back on track. The fairing with the number one will be out there, so yeah. Of course, will take time. I expect, you never know with Martin, but he will be fast in the second part of the season.
And very finally, Marc, looking back at 2019, of course, that pole lap that you did here, you must have seen it on social media this week. Looking back on it, what are your thoughts 6 years later?
The first thought is like, this guy is crazy. Riding on that sector 4 with slick tires is something that now maybe I will close a bit more the throttle, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the best pole positions I did for the way we did with that slick tires on rain conditions on the last sector.
All the best, Marc. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that pole lap somehow over the past couple of weeks, or even from when we were last, or the time before that in 2019, go and check it out on social media. For me, that is
unreal.
The best of Marc Marquez. He's now, what, 101 pole positions?
He was on pole by 2.5 seconds that afternoon. That was how much stronger he was than everyone else
Ridiculous.
in those conditions.
Danilo Petrucci afterwards described him as an alien. He says the track was wet for everybody except for Marc Marquez, doing exceptional things, and Davide Tardozzi has said it time and time again this year, that he's back at that level now. He said, when speaking to the Associated Press here early today, that only 50% of the championship is done. There's still a long way to go in this one. There's no time to be thinking of rolling off, of collecting the points. If the win's there for the taking, as he proved on Saturday in the Sachsenring, he's going to go and do it. Maybe as we get later into the season, when it's in touching distance, then that might come into the thought process. But right now, Marc Marquez is all out, he's all in, and you feel as though he's going to be a tough man to beat here.
Yeah, ultimately, it's that approach that's put him in this position. So I guess in many respects, why change now? Why go to conservative or try and protect a World Championship lead, which is so strong? He can afford to sit the next 2 Grand Prix out and return at Hungary at the end of August and still be in the World Championship if he wants. So I don't think he needs to necessarily be too cautious yet. He's gone through some Grand Prix weekends where he said he was a little bit more defensive. Mugello and Assen did the double there in both of those Grand Prix weekends. So I guess it stood to reason that when he attacked at the Sachsenring, he was always going to have a serious advantage over the rest. He has won here on 3 previous occasions, including that 2019 Grand Prix, which was the last time he raced here. Of course, he got injured shortly before he came to Brno in 2020. So Ducati have got a motorcycle that just works on all kinds of racetracks in all conditions, and Marc Marquez is strong in the wet, he's strong in the dry, he's strong if it's anywhere in between. So I think Marc Marquez will feel confident, whatever the conditions, whatever the circuits, whatever his opposition throw at him. Absolutely.
Unsurprisingly, the big favourite once again for victory this weekend. Can he make it 5 in a row? Another 5-star performance from Marc Marquez. We'll have to wait and see. Or will brother Alex, despite that injury to his left hand, the finger on there, be able to summon up the courage and find that warrior spirit that helped him through to a brilliant 2nd place last time out? Alex he does have MotoGP experience here from 2020. How things are very different for him now in this form of his life in the MotoGP class in particular. So what does Alex make of the challenge that Brno is going to throw at him? Let's hear from him and find out.
Alex, obviously after a difficult but successful weekend at the Sachsenring, how's the last few days been, and how are you feeling physically ahead of Brno, a different challenge?
Yeah, I recover quite in a good way, but I mean my situation didn't change a lot in 4 days, so the injury is still there, but luckily I passed the control doctors on Tuesday on Madrid, and everything was in the right moment and right position, so the bone didn't move, and that was the most important thing. So here the mentality is the same one like Sachsenring. Try to lose the minimum points to Pecco and Marc. Try to minimize the risk also. Try to be on the bike always, and will be a really challenging weekend for everybody. Many years that we didn't ride here. A lot of tires to try, new asphalt. So will be interesting, and we'll try to be 100%. But the objective is clear. That is try to see and try to follow our feelings on the bike.
A complete different circuit to Sachsenring. Do you have any idea how different you're going to feel on the bike with the injury you've got before the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit worried because in Sachsenring I suffered a little bit in the change direction, and here we have many of them. So, you know, it's a track that is similar, for example, to Mugello, trying to flow, but with a little bit more break points also compared to Sachsenring. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but later on when I will be on the bike, I will see how I feel. And from that moment, try to go as we did in Sachsenring, session by session, and try to give our best in all the laps.
Speaking of coming back, just finally on Jorge, it's great for the sport and obviously for rivals as well to see the number one back on track. How do you view his comeback and what his mentality might be, and just good for obviously everyone to have the number one on track?
Yeah, I mean, always it's important to have the last year champion on track. I mean, after his injury, he deserved to come back, and to come back for sure strong. I think he will take easy the weekend, you know, but I think it's the right choice to come back here, to have all the summer to work on physically and all that, and make a second part of the season in a solid way. So, you know, I say to him good luck, and you know, we'll see on track that always, as I said, it's nice to have the champion on track.
Alex, thank you, and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So interesting there, Alex Marquez feeling that it might be physically a bit more of a challenge here with the number of changes of directions that he's going to have to overcome. He said that second place was a gift. It was one that he didn't expect, was able to pick up the pieces from the guys crashing in front of him. And I think he knows that once again this weekend, with the short turnaround, it's going to be damage limitation in terms of the championship.
Yeah, very, very difficult to, I guess, understand just how strong Alex Marquez can be here. As you say, we had a day of wet weather at the Sachsenring, which obviously played its own part. Less physical, but more risks, as Alex Marquez said. And ultimately, he did not want to take any risks in the sprint. The wet conditions of the Saturday afternoon, he was more than happy just to get it to the flag, score a couple of points, which he did for 8th place, and live to fight another day on the Sunday. And yeah, he described that second place as almost like a victory for him, didn't he, given the build-up to that Grand Prix. And of course, the quick turnaround they have in 2025, of course, straight from the Sachsenring to Brno here this weekend. He's not had any time to really rest up. He's not able to do the sort of training he normally does in a run up to a Grand Prix. So I think Alex Marquez will take this session by session, and ultimately I think what he's done very well this year is he's understood on every single day and every single race or sprint what's possible. Generally, that's been second place, let's face it, but he's not taking the ultimate risk if he doesn't think it's possible. So I think Alex Marquez will take a very mature approach this weekend. And of course, with such a big points lead of a Pekka Bagnaia for second in the championship, even if I'm sure in his heart of hearts he'd love to try and chase down his older brother Marc, he's got that points buffer where he can afford to be a little bit conservative and just make sure he banks the points and just try and see where Pekka is, and I think just gauge it on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex has taken that mature, long-term view at 2025, and he's so far successfully been building a championship together by, as you say, maximising the point-scoring opportunities when they came his way. Right. I don't think we're going to get the opportunity to have a quick hello with Jorge Martin, but don't worry, he's coming your way in around 40 minutes. We need to go this way because we're going to chat with Miguel Oliveira. So let's start walking in this direction if we can. When we speak about Miguel, he is someone who is under pressure. Paolo Pavesio, when we spoke to him on a number of occasions throughout the course of the year, Gino Borsoi as well, saying that Yamaha will make a decision in the summer break. Well, the summer break is with us on Monday. Toprak Razgatlioglu is already signed, we know that. Jack Miller under pressure, Miguel Oliveira under pressure. This is a big weekend for him, especially given the fact that he was here testing as well. So he's going to hope he can put that track knowledge to good use.
Yeah, we'll find out, I guess, from him shortly just what kind of track knowledge he has. Of course, the layout hasn't changed since we've last been here, but the circuit will react very, very differently from the last time. 99% of this paddock last came here, if they indeed did come here before. Take Pedro Acosta, for instance, in MotoGP, Fermin Aldeguer as well. They've never been here before on any kind of motorbike, so it's a very interesting challenge facing them this weekend. Yeah, interesting decision this for Pramac because, of course, with every Grand Prix that goes by, Jack and Miguel are riding for their futures, but you kind of want to judge them on a body of work over the whole first half of the season. And of course, Miguel Oliveira's big problem is he's been injured for a lot of the first few Grand Prix of this season, of course, after that collision with Fermin Aldeguer in Argentina. So Miguel would argue he's not really had a fair shot at it this season because he hasn't been fit for enough of the season. But of course, Yamaha have made it very clear over the course of this season how serious they are at getting back towards the front again. There's nothing more serious than signing the reigning World Superbike champion to ride for your satellite team next season. So Toprak Razgatlioglu still waiting to find out who his teammate is going to be. And of course, we should make the point as well, it is far from absolutely certain that it's going to be one of Jack or Miguel.
Yeah, there is huge talk in the paddock at the moment that there may well be two rookies in Prima Pramac racing next year. Diogo Moreira, a man who was so much so in the headlines for the good and the bad in Germany, showed exactly why. I think every MotoGP factory is interested in trying to get his signature. The talent out of this world for him to do the comeback that he did. There's still some rough edges that need to be polished, given the fact he's got a pit lane start to contend with this weekend. But there's talk of Diogo being in deep discussions with Prima Pramac Racing. Over the last couple of days, it's emerged that Honda, given the fact that it looks like they might miss out on Jorge Martin, have decided to turn their attention to the Brazilian instead. So, yeah, as you say, not guaranteed that we're going to see either Jack or Miguel here next year, but there's also, given the fact that Alex Rins had a disastrous German Grand Prix, 40 seconds off Marc Marquez, nearly, just hasn't really found any sort of form of late. There's a possibility that Jack might move into Alex Rins' seat and that deal might come to an end 1 year early. We're really, at the moment, no nearer to knowing the makeup of this 2026 grid. It felt as though Jorge was going to be the first domino to fall, and now that that seemingly is falling into place, everything else you would imagine is going to come pretty soon after.
Yeah, as you say, it's the case of waiting for that one move to be made, and I think everything will very quickly follow on from there. As you say, Diogo Moreira clearly is well thought upon across this MotoGP paddock, so it's a case of when rather than if he comes to MotoGP. If he doesn't come next year, he'll surely come in the year after that if he does anything sensible in Moto2 next year, and of course he's still very much in the championship battle this year. Jack Miller has made it very clear that his priority is to stay in MotoGP for next season. Of course, there have been World Superbike rumours surrounding him, but his priority is to try and keep himself in this paddock and pit himself against the best riders in the world, and I'm sure Miguel Oliveira's thoughts are very much the same. Of course, he's joining us very, very shortly. So it's always the way, isn't it, in MotoGP? No matter how much experience you've got, and Pramac have got one of the most experienced rider pairings in the grid, no matter how many Grand Prix you have to your name, you're always proving yourself.
Absolutely. Your last race is what everyone is going to judge you on, and right now in the current sphere that we're in, things can change with just one performance, and Miguel, I'm sure, is going to be hoping for that. For Moreira as well, it seems as though if it isn't next year, that's because there's talk of both Ducati and KTM potentially wanting to wait a further year, but right now it seems that the Japanese factories are the clearest options for Moreira to move up next year, either into the LCR squad or into the Prima Pramac Racing squad. But we'll have to wait and see on that one as Miguel comes to join us now. Always great to be able to joined by Miguel, who you feel, as we said, has got a big opportunity this weekend.
Boys.
Hello, how are you?
Good. You?
How are you?
Very good, very good. We were just saying, what would you prefer? Well, stay here, it's better here. We were just saying, only a handful of riders, yourself, Alex Rins, Luca Marini, we're here at the test. So what's this magnificent circuit like? Is it as fun to ride as it is to come and walk around?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's exactly how I remembered it a few years back in 2020 when we raced here for the last time. First, it's like a very wide track compared to at the time we were coming from Assen straight to here, so it's like feeling like running in a highway. And the most incredible aspect was the grip. Was quite good. Also, one of the reasons why I think we didn't come here anymore was because of the low grip conditions, and they've done an amazing job. Yeah.
What was the day's work like? Did you manage to get a lot done? Did you start to feel comfortable? Do you feel that could be an advantage, having a little step on everyone else?
I mean, it took me like 5 to 10 laps to get my head around the track again. Also because the bikes are so much different than what they were 5 years ago. But it was very quick, and I don't think that will be a huge advantage. I think just because in terms of setup, also the electronics, we are already very centered in a good place. So I think that's the small advantage that we might have. But it's a normal weekend, so we go for it since the first practice. Yeah.
You spoke about the levels of grip and how much improved it's been. Just talk to us a little bit about that. And do you think in terms of the bike you're on, the Yamaha, which of course we feel this might be a layout that might play to the strengths of the Yamaha, but also one thing the Yamaha we've learned this year needs is grip from the surface, and do you feel you're going to get that too?
Yeah, I mean, already we start with a good amount of grip on the track, so for sure that might help us a little bit more. That's at least what we hope for. Tracks this year where we have been with a good amount of grip and where we actually managed not to overheat the rear tires, it usually played out well, and so that's what we expect from now. It's true that the temperatures are also like 20 degrees less on track temperature than what they were during the test, so that might also help us. But I would say it's a little bit starting from zero for everyone, and I can't really. I don't want to get my hand around too much expectation about the race and about the layout itself, that if it will play in our favor or not. But yeah, just getting the weekend started and see how it goes.
Of course, so much of the talk off track has been about 2026, about the future. Of course, we already know Toprak is joining this team. How mentally do you approach this weekend? Does it feel like there's a little extra riding on it from your point of view in terms of your future into next year?
I mean, since we got the news of Toprak coming to Pramac, I think the approach was just not trying to transform that extra pressure, let's say, into some speed, into some potential. It's true that I had to hurry up a little bit more than what I was thinking of because of the timing and missing races because of the injury and so on. That I felt for sure I put on myself maybe a little bit more weight than what I should have. But I think my potential is there, and also I feel like I have a lot to give still to Yamaha, so that's exactly what I want to do. I don't feel an exact particular pressure because it's Brno or because it's the last race of the summer break. I just take every session also into showcasing what I can do, and that's it really. I try to enjoy also in the meantime this process, which is not easy, but yeah, we'll try.
Well, have fun. Hope it's a good weekend, and let's hope it's a successful one for you. Liking the mullet as well.
It's fading away a little bit. I had to change hairdresser because the last one was closed. So yeah, that's the story behind it.
It looks good. It looks good. Even for a dad, you've still got a little bit of cool going as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think what I do, it's cool enough. I didn't need the the hairstyle, but yeah, the hairstyle also helps.
Have a good one, Miguel. Good to chat as ever. There we go. Nice to chat with Miguel Oliveira, who is hoping for a big one this weekend. We've mentioned Yamaha there. Fabio Quartararo, is he someone that we feel can compete this weekend, or is it going to follow that same old story of challenging for pole position on Saturday, but unfortunately dropping out of the contention on Sunday?
Yeah, pole position definitely, I think, a possibility for Fabio Quartararo this weekend. As Miguel said, this circuit gives good grip, so I think that will certainly boost him and boost Yamaha. Whether they can take that into Sunday, of course, is another matter entirely.
Absolutely. Other contenders, Pecco Bagnaia, we're going to hear from him in a second. Fabio Di Antonio, he's going to hope to bounce back from Sachsenring frustration. Of course, flying solo because there's no Frankie Morbidelli. And Any other contenders? I think we've covered them all off, haven't we? Pretty much. Of course, we'll bring you up to speed. No Frankie Morbidelli and Ea Bastianini returns. No Maverick Vinales. He's replaced by Paul Espargaro. No Somkiat Chantra. He this weekend replaced by Takaki Nakagami. There we go. You're fully up to speed. 21 riders will be out there this weekend, all hoping to be standing atop of this Brno podium for the first time in 5 years. Will it be any of these three men? Pekka Bagnaia, Brad Binder or Luca Marini? Let's hear from them and find out what they make of the return of the Grand Prix of Czechia.